My mother-in-law asked me to film the wedding. She already knew the dark truth I would capture. I, 32M, still can't believe what I discovered while editing my brother's wedding video last night. I'm a hobby videographer, and I offered to film their special day to save them some money. Everything went perfectly during the ceremony and reception. At least that's what we thought until I started going through the footage. I had set up multiple cameras around the venue to capture different angles. While reviewing the footage from the camera near the coat check area, I noticed something in the background during the reception. At first, I thought it was just guests mingling, but something made me pause and rewind. That's when I saw it. My sister-in-law's father with his hands all over one of the bridesmaids. Now, this wouldn't normally be a huge deal, except this man has been married to my mother-in-law for 25 years. The bridesmaid was my sister-in-law's college friend, barely older than my brother. The footage clearly showed them sneaking off together multiple times throughout the reception. The worst part? My mother-in-law was busy helping with the cleanup, completely unaware of what was happening just around the corner. I've been sitting on this information for the past 24 hours, feeling sick to my stomach. The father-in-law has always been kind of sleazy, making inappropriate comments at family gatherings, but everyone just brushed it off as that's just how he is. But this is different. This is proof. I showed the footage to my wife last night, and she broke down crying. She's known this man since she was a teenager, and he's been like a second father to her. We spent hours debating what to do. Do we tell my brother and his new wife? Do we confront the father-in-law? Or worst of all, do we tell my mother-in-law and potentially destroy a 25-year marriage? The more we discussed it, the more complicated it became. My wife revealed that she caught him flirting with younger women at previous family events, but she convinced herself she was reading too much into it. Now she feels guilty for not saying something sooner. This morning, I received a text from the father-in-law asking if the wedding video was ready yet. My hands were shaking as I read it. He has no idea what I saw. I made some excuse about technical difficulties, but I know I'm just buying time. The family is planning to gather this weekend for a post-honeymoon celebration dinner. Everyone will be there, including the father-in-law and my mother-in-law. My wife thinks we should pull my brother aside before dinner and show him the footage. But I'm worried about ruining what's supposed to be a happy time in his life. Yesterday, I tried editing around those moments, but it feels wrong. Like I'm helping cover up something that shouldn't be hidden. But every time I think about coming forward, I imagine the fallout. My mother-in-law is one of the sweetest people I know. She spent her life dedicated to this family, working extra jobs to put her kids through college while her husband managed his business. Finding out like this would destroy her. The bridesmaid has already left town. She was just visiting for the wedding. I managed to find her on social media, and her profile shows she's engaged. Should her fiancé know too? How many lives am I about to impact with this information? My wife hasn't been able to sleep. She keeps saying we have a moral obligation to tell the truth, but she's also terrified of losing her relationship with her step-siblings. They worship their dad, and she's afraid they'll blame us for destroying their family. I never wanted to be in this position. I just wanted to give my brother a nice wedding gift. Now I'm sitting here with footage that could tear apart two families, and the weight of this secret is crushing me. The celebration dinner is in 2 days, and I still don't know what to do. Update. My wife just got a call from her stepsister asking if we'd noticed anything weird about their dad at the wedding. Apparently, she saw something too, but thought she was imagining it. Now my wife is in the bathroom crying again, and I can hear her heaving. This just got even more complicated. Update 2. Things have escalated faster than I could have imagined. After my wife's stepsister called, we decided to meet her for coffee this morning. What she told us made the situation even worse than we thought. Turns out she caught her dad exchanging numbers with the bridesmaid during the reception. She confronted him about it later that night, and he fed her some story about networking for his business. She almost believed him until she overheard him on the phone at 2 a.m. the next morning, speaking in whispers on the back porch. But here's where it gets really messed up. She did some digging and discovered this wasn't the first bridesmaid he'd gotten involved with. She found messages on his iPad showing similar patterns with 2 other young women from different weddings he'd attended. This man has been using his kids' social events as his personal hunting ground. My wife is beyond devastated. She's moved from crying to this cold, angry state I've never seen before. She wants to tell everyone immediately, but her stepsister is begging us to wait. She's worried about their mom's health, apparently. She's been having heart problems that she's kept private from most of the family. I suggested we confront him first, give him a chance to come clean to his wife himself. My wife initially agreed, but then we got another bombshell. The father-in-law called my brother this afternoon, asking if he could check the wedding video for any technical issues before we share it. He even offered to pay me extra to let him review it first. The audacity of this man is unbelievable. He's trying to get ahead of this, probably worried about what the cameras caught. I told my brother I was still working on it, but now he's getting suspicious about why it's taking so long. He knows I usually work faster than this. I decided to go through the rest of the footage more carefully, and I found something else. There's a clip from earlier in the day, before the ceremony, where he's clearly slipping something into his pocket after talking to the bridesmaid. The video quality isn't great from that angle, but it looked like money. The implications are making me sick. My wife's stepsister thinks there might be financial issues we don't know about. She mentioned finding emails about missed payments and hidden accounts while snooping through his iPad. If this gets out, it's not just the marriages at stake anymore. There could be legal ramifications. The celebration dinner is tomorrow night. My wife and her stepsister spent hours on the phone trying to figure out what to do. They decided to tell their brother to get his take on it. He's always been the level-headed one in the family. He came over tonight, and we showed him parts of the footage. His reaction wasn't what we expected. Instead of being shocked, he just sat there with this defeated look. Then he said, "It's happened before. Mom knows." Apparently, their mom caught him cheating years ago, but he convinced her it was a one-time mistake. She stayed for the kids, made him go to counseling, and they worked through it. None of the kids knew until now. The brother found out by accident last year, but promised his mom he wouldn't tell his siblings. This changes everything. My wife is furious that her brother kept this secret. She thinks their mom has been silently enduring this for years, while their dad played the perfect family man. But her brother insists we need to let their mom handle this her way. She's a grown woman who's made her choices. But this isn't just about their mom anymore. This man is actively preying on young women at his children's events. The bridesmaid might not be his first victim, and if we stay quiet, she won't be his last. We're at a complete loss. The celebration dinner is in less than 24 hours. My wife hasn't slept properly in days. Her stepsister is stress-smoking again after quitting for 3 years. Her brother is staying on our couch tonight because he doesn't trust himself to keep quiet if he goes home. The father-in-law keeps texting me about the video. Each message makes my skin crawl. Earlier today, he sent, "Just want to make sure you got my good side. Could really use a look before you finalize anything. Name your price." I backed up multiple copies of the footage on different drives. Something tells me we're going to need them. The question isn't really if this will come out anymore, but how and when, and who's going to get hurt in the process. My brother and his new wife deserve to enjoy their first weeks of marriage without this darkness hanging over them. But every hour we stay quiet feels like we're betraying more people. Update 3. The father-in-law just showed up at our door. My wife didn't let him in, but he wouldn't leave until she agreed to have lunch with him tomorrow before the dinner. She's shaking, but she's determined to go. I'm going to wait in the car nearby, just in case. I don't trust this man anymore, and I don't know what he's capable of when cornered. Final update. Everything came crashing down, but not in the way any of us expected. My wife went to that lunch with her stepdad today. I was parked nearby, watching through the restaurant window, ready to rush in if needed. But something happened that none of us saw coming. My mother-in-law was already there waiting with him. Turns out, the bridesmaid wasn't just any random girl. She was an investigator hired by my mother-in-law. She'd known about his pattern with young women at weddings for months and had been gathering evidence. The bridesmaid was working with a private investigator firm to document everything. My mother-in-law had suspected something was wrong when she noticed large amounts of money missing from their joint accounts earlier this year. She hired a forensic accountant who uncovered a trail of hidden accounts, suspicious transfers, and what looked like payments to multiple young women over the years. She'd been quietly building her case, working with lawyers, and documenting everything. She didn't want to say anything until she had concrete proof that I accidentally provided with my wedding footage. The reason she came to lunch was that she'd already filed for divorce this morning. She wanted to tell my wife in person before serving him with papers at the celebration dinner. When my wife told her about the video footage, she broke down, not from sadness, but from relief. She finally had the last piece of evidence she needed. The father-in-law's reaction was exactly what you'd expect from someone like him. He tried to blame everyone else. He accused my mother-in-law of setting him up, claimed the bridesmaid trapped him, and even tried to suggest that I had edited the video to make him look bad. But when my mother-in-law started calmly listing dates, names, and exact amounts of money he'd paid out over the years, he went quiet. The celebration dinner turned into a very different kind of family meeting. My brother and his wife were devastated at first, but as the whole story came out, their pain turned to anger, not at us for revealing it, but at him for using their wedding as another opportunity to prey on young women. The most surreal part? He still thought he could talk his way out of it. He actually stood up and tried to give a speech about how this was all a big misunderstanding and how we were tearing the family apart by believing lies. My usually quiet mother-in-law cut him off mid-sentence by having her lawyer hand him divorce papers right there at the table. I've never seen someone deflate so quickly. He looked around the table, probably expecting at least one of his kids to defend him. Instead, my wife's stepsister stood up and played a recording from her phone. It was him trying to bribe the bridesmaid to keep their little secret. Turns out she'd been helping her mom gather evidence for weeks. He stormed out, but not before threatening to make us all pay for this. The lawyer didn't seem concerned. Apparently, my mother-in-law has documentation of everything, including his financial fraud. She'd been preparing for this moment for almost a year. My brother asked me to finish editing the wedding video, but to keep the footage of his father-in-law. He wants his future kids to know why their grandfather isn't in their lives. It's harsh, but I understand. The family is shaken, but there's also this sense of relief. My mother-in-law looks like a weight has been lifted from her shoulders. She admitted she'd been trying to protect her kids by staying, but realized she was actually teaching them to accept unacceptable behavior. My wife and her step-siblings are processing everything in their own ways. They're angry at their dad, but prouder than ever of their mom. They're planning to go to family therapy together to work through this. As for the investigator, she sent a detailed report of everything she documented to my mother-in-law's lawyer. Apparently, the father-in-law's behavior follows a clear pattern that spans years. The lawyer thinks more victims might come forward once this goes public through the divorce proceedings. I never expected my hobby videography to expose something like this, but my mother-in-law said something that stuck with me. Sometimes the truth hurts, but secrets destroy. She thanked me for inadvertently giving her the final push she needed to take action. The family is different now, but maybe it's a healthier kind of different. My brother and his wife are focusing on their honeymoon memories rather than letting this taint their wedding. My mother-in-law is looking into buying her own place, saying she wants to rediscover who she is without him. It's been a hell of a week. I'm just glad the truth is out, even though the way it came out was messy. My wife says she feels like she can finally breathe again. Sometimes the worst moments bring out the best in people. Watching her family unite and support each other through this has been incredibly powerful. Last thing. We're sending the relevant footage to the lawyer, and I'm never filming another wedding. I think I'll stick to landscapes from now on.